Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. And today, as I speak, we're getting a better idea of alleged, and I have to say alleged, Ukrainian preparations for major offensive operations against Russian forces. We also have a better idea today of where some of this Western equipment, namely Bradley armored infantry fighting vehicles, some of the older M113s, possibly Strykers, Leopard 2 main battle tanks, albeit just a few of them, have gone and are currently serving in Ukrainian forces brigades. Now, the units that we believe right now, or the unit that is the principal operator of the Bradley Armored Infantry Fighting Vehicle, is this unit right here, the 32nd Mechanized Brigade. This unit is in a staging area, possibly either west of the Dnieper River or even east of the Dnieper River with some of these forces in this area. And again, it looks, at least in what we're hearing, is that the Ukrainians are preparing for some sort of offensive operation within the vicinity south of the city of Zaporizhia in the Zaporizhia Oblast. It'll probably be, at least, again, what we're hearing, is near Orkiv. Now, again, this could be a big deception operation, and the attack could occur someplace completely different. Now, what makes the Bradley Armored Infantry Fighting Vehicle, again, this is not a tank. People look at the Bradley and they immediately think, oh, it's a tank with a smaller turret. It is not a tank. It is a armored infantry fighting vehicle designed to carry infantry. Now, it does have incredible firepower. It has the ability to kill main battle tanks with its TOW anti-tank missile system. And then compounding that, I think a lot of people look at the TOW and they think that's the principal armament on the Bradley. Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, the most capable weapon system on the Bradley is that 25 Mike Bushmaster. That is an incredible weapon system that is slaved to some very advanced thermal imaging optics. So what does that mean? It means the Bradley can see at great distance. It probably, in my opinion, has better optics than the M1A1 that I served on. And I'm just talking about firsthand experience. Looking through the optics of a Bradley, I felt I had more clarity than looking through the optics of an Abrams. But that's just my opinion. Now, the 25 millimeter gun on the Bradley will kill most stuff on the battlefield, to include main battle tanks. Yeah, you heard me right. It will mission kill a main battle tank. Those 25 Mike rounds, especially, I believe it's the M199 or the depleted uranium round. Now, I don't know if the Ukrainians are getting those or not, but a side aspect hit by a 25 Mike, I've seen firsthand, will go through a T-55. Right through a T-55. Side shot. I haven't seen a direct frontal aspect on a turret hit, but a side shot, they will. And especially if you start targeting the engine compartment and stuff like that, the armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot round of the 25 Mike on the Bradley will do a lot of damage to a main battle tank. Infantry fighting vehicles and other systems, it'll go through them like butter. Like hot butter. So again, very capable weapon system. Now, if these Bradleys are attacked by other armored infantry fighting vehicles, say BMP-2s or BMP-3s, or even T-72s, T-90s, T-80s, will they survive? And the answer is no, they won't. They're not designed to take hits from 125 millimeter rounds from main battle tanks. And I don't even think at this point, from what I've seen, the Bradleys that have been delivered to the Ukrainians have the updated reactive armor boxes on the side and the frontal aspect. Haven't seen it. They could be putting them on, but what I've seen so far is just the standard armor package for the Bradleys being delivered. And I haven't even seen RPG cages put on them either. So, I mean, those won't really mean anything if they're hit with a 125 millimeter tank round anyway. Now, if they're hit with the 30 millimeter from the BMP-2 or the 100 millimeter from the BMP-3, again, they'll kill or mission kill the Bradley as well. But I can definitely tell you that the optics on that Bradley are going to give them a great advantage, especially at long-distance shooting. And that's when they'll start using those tows. They'll be looking at targets outwards to 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 meters. And then attempting to engage those targets at max distance with the tow. And then again, when they get up close and personal in some of these urban engagements that we've seen, a Bradley 25 millimeter gun hitting a tank or tank-like target AFV at 300 meters is going to be a zinger. It's going to go through that target like hot butter, especially a side aspect shot. So, again, how many Bradleys have been deployed? We think the Ukrainians received just over 100. In all probability, they're going to these brigades that could be conducting these offensive missions against the Russian forces. In all likelihood, the first Bradleys that are knocked out of service, it will probably not be a tank-on-tank or infantry fighting vehicle and infantry fighting vehicle engagement. It's probably going to be an issue where a column of Bradleys become fixed in position either through a roadblock or they're stationary, and Russian drones are able then to target that convoy. Or a drone identifies the Bradleys, where they're at, and then Russian artillery then strikes those Bradleys. And we've seen the Russians' use of a variety of munitions. And that has not been talked about a great deal, about some of those more advanced 152 millimeter anti-armor munitions that the Russians are deploying. These are top attack systems that sense a tank or tank-like target and then detonate over the target. It's almost like a cluster munition, and it then kills that armored fighting vehicle. And in all likelihood, those are the systems that are going to achieve first blood, so to speak, against those Bradleys and whatever else Western armored infantry fighting vehicles that are handed over. I'm guessing that the 5th Tank Brigade that is being reconstituted, refitted, is also being armed with Leopard 2s, or possibly the upgraded Polish T-72 that have been delivered to the Ukrainians. Fairly capable tank. Again, I think you all know how I feel about the T-72. It's just a tank that disturbs me, quite frankly. As a tanker, it's just a tank I wouldn't want to be in. Having been on an M1 Abrams, and you could say I'm spoiled. So be it. But again, just the way the T-72 is outfitted with that ammo carriage, and you're essentially sitting on a bomb, and it's disconcerting for tankers, at least me as a tanker, or a former tanker. But again, as we have talked about before, these brigades, and we're probably looking at about a dozen Ukrainian brigades that are moving into position to launch some sort of offensive operation against Russian forces. Now, the Russians have been preparing for this. There are multiple defensive lines that have been set up in Zaporizhia designed to deal with this Ukrainian attack. We've seen some fairly capable Russian units have been deployed to this southern sector, and we can look at some of these units, at least what they're saying here, at least on this map. I don't have to go to the other map to, let's see here, that's the deep state map, and this kind of gives you a better idea of some of the Russian units that are in position. So you have the 5th Separate Tank Brigade. My guess those guys are outfitted with T-72 Bravo 3s and or T-90s. We know that there have been quite a few T-90s now rolling off the assembly line and being delivered to Russian units. And the Russians are still producing those tanks with some fairly advanced thermal imaging optics as well. I mean, we've seen proof of it. So it's not like the Russians can't produce TIS. They're definitely doing it. Are they getting it from the Chinese, or do they just have stockpiles of the necessary equipment to make those systems? Hard to say. Let's see here. What else we have? We have the 429th Motorized Rifle Regiment. You got Wagner units, Rosgard unit, Ashmat Center. I believe that's a Chechen unit. 37th Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade. The 1,430th Motorized Rifle Regiment. The 70th Motorized Rifle Regiment. The 503rd Motorized Rifle Regiment. And again, when we're talking about motorized rifle regiments, traditionally you're talking about 1 tank battalion and 3 motorized infantry battalions, total of 4 maneuver battalions. Now, the problem is, or the challenge is many of these units have been broken up into battalion tactical groups, which then changes the dynamic of those units. So you're not necessarily looking at a regiment then, you could be looking at a reinforced battalion tactical group. The 177th Separate Regiment of Marines further to the east. You have the 143rd Motorized Rifle Regiment from the 127th Motorized Rifle Division. The 291st Guards Motorized Rifle Regiment. Part of the 111th Separate Rifle Regiment. 71st Guards Motorized Rifle Regiment, 131st Regiment's a DPR, LPR unit, 100 another LPR, DPR unit, 40th Naval Infantry Brigade, 14th Separate Special Purpose Brigade, that's a Spetsnaz unit, 72nd Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade, 155th Separate Brigade of Marines, 123rd Regiment DPR LPR, 78th Motorized Rifle Regiment, and then finally the 42nd Motorized Rifle Division in the southern sector, awaiting this possible Ukrainian offensive operation. As for the continued operations in Bakhmut, it's the same thing that's been happening. Again, the Russians, again, have just fixed the Ukrainian military and a large group of the Ukrainian military in this area and just continue to pound the hell out of them. And that's what they're doing, and that's what they seem to be happy to do at this point. So we'll continue to watch what happens in that area. But again, it sounds like, at least from the Ukrainian side, that the Ukrainians are getting ready for something, and something that could be at least on the onset fairly large. And we'll continue to watch near Zaporizhia. We'll continue to listen and monitor all across the World Wide Web in terms of trying to scour information that will give us any sort of indication on what the Ukrainian plans are. We're also continuing to watch what the Russians are preparing for as well. I've talked in great length about this alleged buildup of Russian military force north of Seversk. Now, again, could this be a diversion for something that could take place elsewhere. Difficult to say it at this point. But a very large group of Russian forces building up in this area, and obviously the Russians are also watching what the Ukrainians are doing further to the south. So we'll continue to monitor it. We will continue to report. Thank you for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. Have a good day.